Hello, for this section, I'll talk about the list view. I have 2 slides on that. Then I'll talk about the spinner and I'll talk about the grid view. These 3 controls are related. Let me first show what they kind of look like. Okay, so list view just looks like this. Just a list of it's a list. It's similar to the list box from Windows. The next one, the spinner control, that's like a list view on one line basically. So like these. Actually, the spinner's not such a good name. Spinner is basically the same as the combo box from Windows, so it's easier to just find a Windows example. So the spinner, also called combo box in Windows, it's like a list view on one line. This is this thing, and you click on the arrow, and the list pops up basically. So that's the spinner. And grid view is usually something like this. It lets you display items in a grid pattern, and it's usually a picture. Under Android developer website API guide, these things are listed under layouts, but I consider them controls. Okay, for these controls, well, or they call them layouts. Like a list view here, it's made out of a bunch of these blue rectangles. You see, for each blue rectangle, there's a layout file backing it up. So there's a layout file for each item. All the items are using the same layout file, but they have different content. So it's like a control that has a layout file inside of it, and then inside of that layout file, you can have other controls. So that's what's so special about these controls. And it's the same thing with grid view. Every item in the grid view is a layout file, and that layout file can have multiple controls, but usually they just have one, like image view. So for grid view, usually each box here is just a layout file with one control, the image view. And for list view, usually it's each box here is a layout file that references a single text view. So I'll go over how to use them. They use an adapter object. That's like the middleman. I'll go over that. Spinner is almost the same as the list box. That's why the spinner slide is really short. Just a different event handler, basically. And I'll go... Oh, that's the wrong slide. Okay, I'll go over, and then the final control is the grid view. So this one's longer. You can use it the same way as a list view or a spinner control, but then every box is just a line of text, which is probably not what you want. So probably it's gonna be using custom layout. Okay. Okay, so now I'll talk about the list view. I'll start out with the basic bare bone default project, which is just a layout file and main activity. So I'll just go over linear. I'll chop out some of this stuff that won't be needing, just to simplify it a little bit. So like I said, list view is a control. So the first thing you do is, like any other control, you put it in here, like list view. So I might have a button that add things to the list view. So later on we'll use this. Just forget about it right now, I guess. Let's do it later. So layout file for do need to give it an ID. So list view. So like I mentioned before, the list view has it's a list of a bunch of items. So each item has a layout file, and usually that layout file is just a single text view. So over here, add a new layout file. This layout file is just to show like one item, one string. So that's what I'll call it. So as usual, the height and width thing. It's not mentioned in the slide, but usually by default, the items in the list view are like really close together. So I'll put in some padding. You can try it without padding, and it's not gonna crash or anything, but the items might be too close to each other. So I'll just put it in here. So that's this part, the layout file for each item. So each item will show up in a text view. So better give it an ID too. Item can't give the item a string, right? Guess string text view, because item strings would be this. I need to have the plus. Yeah, because item string is the layout file. So string text view. Okay, so that should be it, I think. Next, array adapter. This is like the middleman between your data and list view. So suppose that the things I want to show, the list view shows up a bunch of strings, right? Suppose that I want to show strings like choices, private. Right, so suppose I want to show these three strings in the list view. I don't actually add this array to the list view directly. I add it to the array adapter, and then I add the array adapter to list view, like set adapter here. Okay, so first, put those strings into the array adapter, and then put the array adapter into the list view via the set adapter here. Ooh. So array adapter is a parameterized. In this case, I'm putting strings in there. So the context is the activity, of course, and there's multiple constructors. Okay. Try that again. What the? Yeah. How do I get it to pop up? Oh no, it pops up. So this. Oh, it's this one. Oh, okay. Then it's off the screen. Oh. Now it's gone. Yeah, so these two are the easiest to use. So this one or this one. Try to get this across here. Just so the context is, like I said, the main activity. The resource is going to be the layout file. Okay, so r dot that layout that has only one text view, item string. So that's resource, and then text view resource ID is the in that layout file in resource. There's only one text view. That it's the ID of that text view, so it's this thing. Okay, so we're telling it, what layout to use. We're using the item, a string, that's the layout to use. And we're telling it the text view, where to display the text, where to display this string. Okay, and the last thing is the array of strings. So you can give it an array of strings, or you can array of strings here, or you can give it like a list of strings. Okay, so choices, it can be either an array or a list. You might want to use a list if you need to add more items to it, because lists can grow easily, whereas an array, you have to reallocate the whole thing. So that's basically creating an adapter. Like I said, there were multiple constructors. This one's the easiest one to use for this situation, because then we don't need to do any more work. This constructor tells the framework to take this choices, take this array, look for this layout file, and then within that layout file look for this string text view, and they'll display it there. So what if right now choices is a string? So if choices is not a string, it's some custom data type that you defined, then what this thing will do is it's going to call toString. So instead of just choices one, it's going to call your object dot toString and then whatever. So I'll just go on, and it should be more clear. This one's to update it. I'll go back to this one a little bit in a little bit. So I'll go set adapter. So like I said, you put your string inside the adapter. You put this choices in the adapter. Then you get the list view set adapter. Right, like this. Set adapter. Set. I like this one here, set adapter. So the list view is the control in the main activity. This one, actually, so it's find view by ID as usual. This one, the list view. Okay. So that that's the very basic. I'll run this right now and show what happened. So this is what's on screen. I can click on it. Of course, nothing happens. There's no event handler yet. So this basically gets it up on screen. So next thing is to do the event handling here. So it's on item selected. Oh, that thing's up there again. I narrow this. I want to show that. See, some of these doesn't work. Or not. Oh well. Okay, so anyways, in this case they all work. That's the next one. Okay, so as usual, this argument list is no good. So basically, you have to look for it on Google. Let me start a new one. So the view is the view that you actually click on. It's important in the next slide when I try to change the background color. But right now, the most important thing is the position. That one tells you which of these three did I just click on. Okay, so it should be something like this. Oh, organize imports, use this one. This one I usually leave blank on nothing selected. So if I run it now, I should be able to click on, those choices, and then it sent me this message. Click on, choices. So here it comes up. So actually, didn't work. It actually has to be on item click. So what I had here was on item selected. So that's why it didn't work. So I'll just try it again. On item selected is the next one. So I got confused. Like spinner uses on item selected, so this one's on item click. So add and implemented methods. And I'll just save this on item selected for the next topic. Since it's like the same thing. Oh, so once again you have that problem here. Get rid of the import warning that was showing up on the yellow. So now it should be working. So I just run it. So you can see it in the background. I add the So one thing I noticed right now is that if I click like here toward the left, it works. But if I click over here, it doesn't work. See, if I do this, it doesn't work. But if I click here, then you can see the blue. So you can see the blue outline only goes up to here. The reason for that is because of the layout. This thing, the list view layout. So match parent. Right, this will kind of like make it expand, make it, well, height doesn't matter. The width needs to be match parent so that it kind of expands all the way across the screen, you know, to get rid of that effect. So I run it again. So now if I click over here, it still has it. So I guess I hold it down, make it show up blue. There. Okay, so that takes care of the width thing. So I just talked about that. That's already part of the construction. I'll go over this right now. This is how you add or change the data set. You change the three choices. If you use a list, instead of the array, go back here, because I use an array, so I'll just go into how to change this at runtime. If you use a list, you can add to the list. The idea is just to change it like you would change any array, and then call this notify dataset changed. Okay, so I'll add a new button here, and upon clicking the button, I'll change the content of the list. Change button, and the usual height and width thing. Oh, needs to have text, and it needs to be vertical. I'll add it down here, I guess. Right, you get a reference to it as usual. So here's where I'll do the addition of the, changing of stuff I cannot add easily because it's an array. So whatever. I'll just reallocate the array. Same thing. Right, so to change this list box at runtime, you just change the underlying data, and then you call this set adapter. Excuse me. You call this modify dataset change. Notify dataset changed. But I don't have a reference to it. I need to bring that out because the adapter reference is inside this function, right? So, okay, let me. So if I go like, adapter here, like, oh, so it's notify, right? Notify is a keyword. Notify dataset changed. This won't actually compile. Cannot refer to non-final adapter. Remember this is an inner class. It cannot refer to items under on create, but it could refer to stuff out here because I just did that to the choices, right? So I need to bring the adapter out here. Not the adapter, the array adapter. I need to bring this one. Bring this visibility out here. Okay, so now this will be okay. So I'm running it now. So when I click change, it should change all the choices. So as you can see, like the choices didn't get changed, right? Clicking change doesn't change the choices display here. So what I would guess what's happening is that I'm allocating a new array, and this data structure is still, this adapter is still pointing to the same old array. So like I said, if you want to add stuff, it's a little hard to do with an array. So you should use a list. So forget about this because I can't allocate a new one because it's still pointing to the old one. So instead of 1, 2, and 3, I'll have 100, 200, 300. So this time, I'm not allocating a new one. I'm just changing the existing array. So like I said, I click change and then they all change into 1000, 100, 200, 300. So that one will work. So this will work. Allocating new array should not work because the data structure is pointing to the old array. So if you want to increase the number of items, you use the list. Use the constructor that takes in a list. Like this, there's a version of the constructor that takes in a list of strings or whatever. And like I said before, if you don't have to use strings, you can use any data type. And then what this thing will do is it's going to call toString, and then put that string, put the result of the toString onto this text view, pointed to this by this ID here. So I think that's it for with this slide. This list view is basically the Windows list box. So I'll tell you, like, what's going on here is like when I click it, like it will turn blue, but when I let go, it goes back to the old background again. So that's the Windows behavior. Windows has like different selection modes for list box, and there's ones where you can select multiple items in the list box. It turns out that it seems like this list view has a choice mode. So there seems to be a choice mode like this. Okay, but it doesn't really work. Like if you want to do that multi-selection thing or single select thing, it doesn't seem to be any different. It doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, wait. Right, they have these. Right now it's none basically, because when you click on it, there's no selection. There's no, there's no visible. The blue thing goes away. So that's basically none. But even if I make a single choice, multi-choice, multi-choice modal, it doesn't seem to do any difference, making a difference. So what I'm doing, what the solution seems to be, if you want Windows, if you want the behavior that you see on Windows, you have to implement it yourself, manually changing the background. Well, you have to get the background color first. So manually changing the background of the, manually making it blue, basically. Like right now it's blue, goes back to white. Now you have to manually make that, change the background to blue. Okay, so I'll show in this section. I'll show how to do that. Okay, so the first view get background. Oh, it's done it's done here. So right now I just manually setting the background color. Suppose we want to do multi-select or something, right? Oops. So it's this one, huh? Okay, oh, that important. That's okay, huh? Okay, and next. So like I said before, in this event handler, the view is that box, that the item that you clicked on, it's it's this thing, whichever it's this thing. Whichever version of this thing you click on, you have 3 versions of those of the item string, for choices 1 to 3. So you're getting the background of it, and then color is color drawable must be. Oh wait, that's the that's the wrong procedure. Let me see. It's actually get color, right? It's actually color drawable dot get color. So I'm trying to think like what type is color. It's color drawable. So color is actually an int. So get color returns an int. So the correct thing to do here is int. Okay, but let me not do that for now. Actually, the line of code that sets the background, yeah, that makes it blue, and make it stay blue. Yeah, that's actually down here. View set background. Oh, and get child at old choice, whatever. Get child. Basically, the list view is the whole thing. These items, you know, choice 100, choice 200. These are the children of list view. So get child is gonna get, you know, this whatever. Okay. So so the easiest thing is actually, well, this is actually just kind of go backward. I think that's the easiest way to demonstrate it. So I'll demonstrate this one first. View is the thing that you clicked on. Parent is like the big list view. So I'll just use it on view first. So view background, right? Set background, color. Okay. Now color is an integer. So show you, find a color picker somewhere online. I guess you get blue or something. Needs to be hex. So here's hex. So if you say you want this color, so this is the hex. Now in Android, you know, this is like a red, green, blue thing, right? But on Android, you have to have this this first, you know, byte as alpha, because if you don't have this, if it's just this and it's transparent and you won't see anything. So you have to just remember when you use color, you do the color picker thing somewhere, and then you use this add the FF to in front for the alpha. So what this code right here does is every time I click something, it's going to change the background to blue, or change it to this color. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Okay. So as you can see, so every time I rotate, the thing recreates itself. So that, okay, so there, so it stays blue. Okay. So what you need to do is, like, when you click on new one, when you select choice 1, right? If you want to implement just single select, when you click on choice 2, you need to put choice 1 back to white, right? It's only suppose you only want one choice being blue, right? So for example, so I'll have a variable called old choice. Okay. So if the old choice means 0, that means the previous choice is, you know, index 0. Let me call this the selected color, which is blue. Let me have a background color. And for now, just make it like white, right? Is that the right number? Yeah, that's the right number of Fs. Oh, where color picker is no white. Oh well. Huh. Yeah, this thing doesn't work. Oh, I think it's white. We'll see. So the current view is gonna be set to blue. Now I want to set the previous choice to white. Okay, to get that Windows behavior that I mentioned. So view is the one that you clicked on. Now the previous thing, to get a reference to the previous view, you use this thing. Okay. So the first time, okay, so old choice starts out as -1. So first time, make it better. First time it's -1. See, old choice view. Let me just finish coding it first, huh? Set background color, back color, okay. Okay, so old choice starts out as -1. So first time I click on something, old choice is -1. This is not going to happen. It only happens if it's 0 or higher, if it's a valid number. So the first time I copy the position to old choice. So the next time I hit this loop, it's gonna do this, and it's gonna do this thing. I should put it here first, huh? And I guess so next time if I click on something else, first time I click on 0, right, or whatever. Second time I click on 1. So old choice and position, the current position is not the same. So this will get triggered, and this is where it changes back to the background color, which I make it white for now, which is not totally correct. But okay, so let me try this. So you can see that as I make new selections, the older selection is being painted white. Now the problem is the background isn't white. Okay, so the background you see is kind of grayish thing, and this background is not white. Okay, so that's my order demonstration. So first I demonstrate this function that how do you change the background. Next I demonstrate the function how do you get that previous rectangle that I picked, right? Okay, now the only problem remaining is that this is kind of like Windows already, but the only problem remaining is that this background isn't white. I sort of made an assumption here. So how do you get the background color? So this is this thing, view.getBackground. So that gets you the background color, and no, excuse me, that gets you this background object, and then background object, called .getColor. Wait, I already have it. Right. Yeah, I already wrote it down here. Get back. This part gets the background color. No more assuming it's white. You're gonna read it off correctly. Just trying to Control-Shift-O that. So pick selection color here. Pick selection color. Oh no, it's change selected item color. So this part changes the select item color. Reset non-selected item color. Okay, so this one requires API 11. Let's do that. I'll do it the easy way. Okay. Okay, so now no more complaint about requiring API 11. So what I just did is I used get background followed by get color to get the real background color. I'm using the view object. I'm assuming that the view object has the background color I want, which is, yeah, because I'm making it before. Okay. Oh, it crashes. Okay. Time to look at that. Why does it crash? Oh. I keep trying to narrow it in here. So it crashed, and so it's looking at the exception. So it's some kind of null pointer exception. That's the highest level exception, and it happens when I click on it. So I could use a debugger and try to step through it, but I mean I only added like 2 lines, right? So so let's just make it add 1 line. Oh, is that the same number? Okay, that's enough F's. Okay, so let me just try that, because I have null point exception, so most likely this was null, because I only added, that's the only thing I added. Okay, so now it doesn't crash. It's got the wrong background again. Okay, so restart the debug. Show you what happened. Oh, force close. Okay. So I hit this. Expression, I guess. Background is no. So I stepped over. So I skip over it. Okay. Now I'm gonna hit number 2 here. Guess what? Background's gonna be no. Right, background is no. F6 skips over it. So it seems like on the first visit, background's always no. Hit that again. And upon visiting it for the first time, no, background is no. Okay, so it turns out that there is no such thing as the background color. Okay. So I have to go kind of roundabout way to get that, because yeah, what happens, I search online, how do you get the background color, right? And then that's what they fed me. Okay, this stuff. Okay, so the correct solution is actually this line here. So I'll fix my stuff. There. There is no such thing as background. It's always no. You're only getting a background if you set a background. You know, if you set a background color like white, then you're gonna get white back again. But you know, the color, what you do is you make it transparent. That's what's happening here. Okay. So this time this will work. I just tried it. Oh. So as you can see, it works correctly now. The key is that there is no background color. It's taking whatever color that's underneath if it's transparent. So this is the correct one. Okay. So I guess if you want to do multi-select, you just, right now I'm keeping track of only one selection, the previous selection. If you want to do multiple selections, you just track more of them. So instead of like a single integer for one choice, you have an array. So basically there's no, because this thing doesn't work, the choice mode thing doesn't work. So if you want to do multi-select, you have to implement it yourself. But it's the same thing as this. I'm doing single select right now. Oh. Okay, next I'll go over spinner. Spinner is basically list box on one line, so it's pretty simple. So spinner doesn't have this stuff anymore. Oh, actually, first you have to change it to a spinner. This is a list view, right? Spinner, change ID, spinner. This is a spinner. Spinner. The ID is spinner. Control Shift O to bring in. Alt Shift R. Change this to spinner. The other thing is that the event handler is different. Before it's on item click. Now it's on item selected, so it's that mistake I made before, right here. So let me try this. Oops. Yeah, I was going too fast. So slowly. Did I get a choice 2 in the log? See. Yeah, I have it. So let me clear this. Do it over again. So notice that I'm selecting the same one over and over again, and it doesn't send the event. Talk a little bit about that. So if I select a different one, right? So clearly, this is working. Right, this line on item select, this line is firing as expected. And as I mentioned here, if you select the same item, it's, this doesn't get triggered. You don't see choice 2, choice 2, choice 2. It doesn't get triggered. So how do you do the same item, right? Well, there's no good way. Spinner, same item. So the solutions online, they all basically, they start off the same. They create a custom spinner by extending the spinner that you get. Yeah, and then how exactly they do this is there's quite a few different ways to do it. So if you're interested in that, you can look online and try out yourself. But this is actually a pretty common situation that you need to select the same item and you need to have that registered. You need to act on that, and right now there's no built-in way to do it. That's why everybody's doing this thing where they're extending the spinner. Okay. Or whatever. It's a whole bunch of stuff. How do these people figure out like what to override? I mean, gosh, I don't know. Okay. So that's kind of unfortunate. Deficiency. Okay, so now I'll go over the grid view. So at first, I'll continue the example that I've been using so far. The example that I built up, that I used in the list view and the spinner example. I'll continue that because grid view is a lot like those two. If you just want to display strings in a grid format, okay, does that? But most of the time, you really want to display a bunch of images, kind of like this guy, kind of like this picture. So to do that, I will restart. I'll start up a new project to do this. To do this part. Okay. So I'll use the same old stuff to demonstrate how to use a grid view basically, and then I'll start a new project to show how to do this picture thing here. So grid view is just like the list view. When I go from the list view to the spinner, I change the event handler from on item click to on item selected. So I need to revert back to the original event handler. Right. So the correct event handler you use once again is on item select, on item click. Okay. Same event handler. The grid view and the list view is using the same event handler. So first I would need to rename this, right, grid view. The grid view, okay, so this is already there, right? It's already here. Oh, this is grid view now. Oh. Rename it to grid view. The ID is gonna be grid view. Okay, so yep. So that basically I changed the spinner to grid view. And this handler is the same one as the handler for the list view. Right? It just print out this thing that you clicked on. Grid view has some extra attributes. These are the XML attributes. Because you're laying things out in the grid, so column width is how wide each column is. So for example, this guy has 3 columns. So I'll use like 100 dp. 160 dp is like 1 inch, right? 100. So that's like 3/4, 3/4 of an inch. And the other one is the number of columns. Okay. Check this out. num columns. There's only one choice. It's like, you know, whatever. Basically, the number of columns, you don't know that ahead of time. You don't know the screen size, or you don't know how many inches screen. Also, people can rotate, right? They can rotate this thing. Like right now it's vertical, so it's got 3 columns. But if they rotate it, it's going to be like 5-6 columns or something. If you don't put this, if you know, so you know, there's only one choice here. So what if I don't put this, right? It's only one choice. What happens is like if you don't put this there, they're gonna have only one column. Right? It becomes like linear layout or something. So even though this thing, there's only one choice, you still need it. Stretch mode is how you like there's some spare space. You know, suppose you know your screen is like 400 dp wide and you know it's 120 dp. So what do you do with the remaining space? That's stretch mode. Now column width. You can try out different ones. This basically tells them to, you know, any spare space you distribute them evenly across, you know, different columns. Yeah, I'll add some more too here. Yeah, I added 2 more items. I just added 2 more items here. Yeah, vertical spacing, horizontal spacing. I think those are actually pretty important. So that's basically, you know, this black gap that you see in between you know, in between each row. That's your vertical spacing, and horizontal spacing is you know, the gap you see between each column. That's the guarantee gap. Like I previously mentioned, that any leftover space is going to be distributed across different columns. So, but this one puts in a guarantee gap. Okay. I think, and this handler has been done. It's the same one as before, so I think it's all okay now. Just run and see if it works now. So okay, so it basically worked. You can see these these strings are organized in different columns. I guess they couldn't fit them together. So if I use a smaller number here, they might be able to, like, you know, put them on the same row. Try that. Just to show you the column width thing. Yeah, so now they're on the same row. It's only on one row because I narrowed the column width. So that's basically how you use the control now. But what people usually want, I mean, right now I'm just doing strings. What people usually want with the grid view is that they want to do pictures like this, right? Like this guy here. So, so let me go over what's going on here for now. So what I've been doing is that I've been creating a string, and I've been stuffing the string into the adapter. Right, the adapter. When I construct the adapter, I'm stuffing this this array of strings there, or you could stuff in the list if you want. But stuffing strings into adapter, and then I'm stuffing the adapter. This thing doesn't highlight. Okay, I'm stuffing an adapter into the grid view via this, and that's all this class currently knows what to do. All this class does is all the adapter is doing is it's putting the strings into this text view control. It doesn't know how to do anything else, right? So if in this layout, this is the layout for each item, I have text view. If I have something else like a circle or something, it doesn't know how to color the circle or whatever. So what's needed, to stuff pictures in here instead of just a string is that you need to take over the step, because by default, if you leave it up to this class, all they know is how to stuff a string into a resource, a text view. That's all they know. So the solution is you have to subclass this, extend this class, and then you write a function where you generate the layout yourself. You create the view, and when you create this view, you load this picture. Because if you let the array adapter create the view, all they know is stuff the string into a certain resource, the text view, right? It doesn't know how to do anything else. So that's the scheme. Okay, extend this middleman. This is your middleman object. Extend it and write code so that you're creating the view. Okay, so I'm going to restart the project here. Let me see. So this thing so far cannot be continued because the next product, the next example I'll use is something like this. I'll put a bunch of pictures up there. So it's a complete restart. Just close all. Close project. Delete it. Okay, I'll be restarting. Okay. Okay, so here I am continuing on the presentation for GridView, where I'll do a new example where it's a bunch of pictures instead of just a bunch of strings. And I've created an all new project, and that's it, nothing, just basic on create. Yeah, that's the default stuff. So I always change this to linear layout. Always, right? Get rid of this. All these padding, you can add it in if you wanted, but just make it look simpler. Make this whole thing look as simple as possible, right? Do need the namespace, and I'll be using GridView. This thing, GridView. Width would be a match parent, right? Okay, so it's missing something. Oh, it's GridView's useless. No children, no ID. Yeah. ID. GridView. Okay. Not this. Oh. And stuff I previously mentioned. Oh. For this example, I'll load some pictures of US presidents on the phone, just for copyright purposes. I got them from Wikipedia. So I got from so there's a list of pictures here. So I just took the first 10 up to what's the 10th guy? Oh, John Tyler. Okay, so I took up John Tyler. So that's where I get the pictures. Just kind of like, so here on desktop. So copy. Oh, and here drawable. I don't know what resolution they are. So I'll make a default drawable folder. Drawable. Right, so in a real thing, you put your high resolution stuff in this folder, and you put your low resolution stuff here, and you put your extra high resolution stuff here, or whatever. Okay, so you put different resolutions here, but for this one, I just have one resolution and put it all here. So paste. I'll paste this up here. Okay, paste, and you see all these guys here. It's the first 10 presidents. Okay, go back to here. So we pick a width. guess it's 120 dp, so that's 3/4 of an inch. Ooh. Oh. Column width. So that's column width, not width. Number of columns, like I said before, there's only one choice, but you put it there anyways, else they only do one column. Stretch mode, column width. You can try to, that's not that important, but okay. What do I do next? Like I said, I need to I can't be using array adapter. I need to do this one. I need to make my own adapter. You could do it out here as a separate class, but I'm doing it as an inner class so I can access variables in main activity. So it's gonna be like this, right? Precedence. Oh, int. These pictures I just dropped here, they're all resource IDs, which they're all integers. So anyways. So the point is I put my class here so I can access this resource. Okay. So it'll be more clear later on when I actually do that. Why did I put it here instead of like out here, right? Okay. Instead of like out here, right? Well, you can't do private out here. You have to do this. Yeah. The reason I put it in here is to access precedence, which will be the resource IDs here. Okay. So, so it doesn't work. So, well, what do you need? Right? You need a constructor. Okay, so which one? There's a bunch of them. You need at least one of those. Bunch of those. Okay, so I guess the way to do this is right. Do a constructor. I don't know which one yet, right? So I do this. So which one? See, I've been using this one. You know, the resource being the layout, text view resource being the text view that's in the layout. So in the previous example, but there's no, we don't do the text view anymore, right? Because I'm customizing it. It's gonna be image view to hold the picture, so it's not gonna be this one. So basically, it's gonna go back to this one or this one, right? The difference is this one. Oh, yeah. Well, this is obviously not this, okay? Let me see. That's a bug. Anyway, it's gonna be one of these, okay? So the first thing, context. The second thing, resource, is the layout for the item, okay? And either a list or an array. Oh, why is it an integer? Because the resource I'll be using is IDs. So the resource I'll be using is like this: r dot drawable dot precedent, like this guy, precedent 1. That's an integer, like this. So the resource, the thing that's gonna go in here, previously it's a bunch of strings, right? Now it's gonna be a bunch of integers. It's gonna be IDs like this guy. So that's why it's an integer. Okay. Okay, so it's gonna be it's gonna be this one, I guess. Oh, it doesn't do it for me. I have to type it in. See if I can copy it. You don't want to do any typing if you can avoid it, right? Oh, this is much better. Eclipse thing is like just buggy. Like I was saying, I don't want to use this one. I don't want to use this one because there's no longer a text view for rendering. It's going to be image view, so this format doesn't make sense anymore. It's going to be this format or this format. Okay, the context, the layout, that I'm using to render each item, and the objects, or a list, an array or a list. I'll be using an array. Why am I? Well, because it's fixed. I fixed it to 10 presidents. That's it. So I'm not going to increase number of presidents or something in this example. So it's going to be this. Oh, it doesn't do that. Oh, I'll just type in. Okay, I'll do this one. Oh, it won't be TOE integer, right? That's more work than just typing in. Oh well. Let me expand this now. Okay. Yeah, before I just go, let me rename this resource. It really means the layout ID. That's what I've been doing on the previous example too. Okay, so I'll create a layout for rendering the picture. So go back to here, layout, new. So each item is basically going to be just an image view. Yeah, so looking for the, don't know how to do image view anymore. It's been a whole week. Go back to one of my slides. What slides? Oh, that's fine. Okay, so I need, oh, that's fine. Well, you're gonna need an ID because I'll be adding a picture to it, right? So I'm gonna need this. Okay, I always need the length and width thing. So the width, I'm gonna synchronize it with this. The grid view is using width of 120. So also here 120. The height, I'll make a square. It's 120. And there's something here, the complaining content description. So to make the compiler thing happy, it's like this. Oh, still a little bit here. Yeah. Oh no, that's over here. And that is complaining this thing doesn't get used. What else is here? Oh, it's never used. Okay. Okay, so source scale type. Scale type. Okay. Oh, that's how to scale the image. Yeah, if it doesn't fit, I should do that too. Scale type. The center inside. Keep the image inside of the image view and center it. Okay. So I created this. Okay, let me first fill up this because this is null, right? So when I create this, I need it to be those resource IDs. I just kind of do this because kind of like. Oh no, it's this one. Okay. Four, fives. So the precedence array is gonna hold the integers. That's this, and then like before I'll create a new adapter, and like before I'll have to bring out the adapter, my adapter. Oh. So the context is this. Like before, the layout that I'm using is layout the image view layout. So this is the layout. This is this layout which renders a single item in this control. And the objects is objects. Okay. Let me call it data. It's a better name. Yeah, the data is the precedence array. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this should be okay. Actually, I need to make up my mind, huh? Okay, so if this is gonna be integer, because okay. So what happened? I can't make this in, right? It's gonna like complain, right? No, what's the error? Error in int or something is whatever. So this has to be this thing. So that means this thing has to be int. Okay, that means so this thing has to be integer. This is this is right away because it's driven by this thing here. Because this thing here. Okay, so I make an integer. That new adapter is not used. Oh, I'll use it. Same as this one. You set adapter, right? But it's not ListView. It's GridView. Okay. GridView. You have to get a reference to it, just like before. Find view by ID. Then you do the set adapter thing. So list adapter, which has a subclass of array adapter, which has a subclass of by array adapter. So yeah. Oh, sorry, that's it for me. Okay, so what's happening is I'm constructing adapter. I'm giving the adapter, all these numbers. But actually, the adapter is an inner class, So within this class, I can actually access this directly. Anyways, it's not that big of a deal, but it makes it easier. I don't have to figure out how to get to the precedence array because it's already here. So I create an adapter. Adapter has all the information that I set. Put the adapter inside GridView. Okay. Then like before, I need to do this set on click listener, but the problem right now is that I created it won't actually render anything. I'm not finished writing my adapter. I wrote the constructor, but I also need to do this. This is where it happens. This is where the pictures are rendered on screen. So maybe just do the get view thing here. So this is get view here. Double click on it as they generate a skeleton for you. Don't need it. I need to return a view. I need to produce a view. So how do I produce a view? It's called inflating a view, right? Let me see. This layout file, to turn this layout file into a view object, that's what they call inflating. So get view, like what I write here. So position, as mentioned before, that's the position in the array, like in the list. So position equal 5 means that I need to render the 5th precedent, which, wait, position number 5, it starts at 0, right? So position equal 5, this position equal 5 means I need to render precedent number 6, basically. But that's nice. So convert view, what's that? And parent, that's the presumably the group, grid view. So that's what's this? So not that obvious. So you go array adapter, and actually, if you read this, they mention, yeah, why am I even doing this, right? So to use something other than text view for array display, for instance, image view, right? Because I'm trying to render pictures of the present, I'm using image view. Okay, or to have some of the data besides 2-string. Okay, you have to override view, get view. So that's what I'm doing here. This whole thing that I'm doing here, I'm overriding get view. You know, it's according to this API guide. I mean, this reference here. So get view, right? And they don't have anything, right? It's a get view, and it's like nothing there. Okay, that's because array adapter comes from base adapter. That's where it's coming from. Implements list adapter. Remember how this thing set adapter takes in a list adapter, and yeah, that's where it's all the stuff is coming from. It's coming from base adapter. Okay, get view. So to make get views, I'll click on this. So here, this is where they explain what convert view is. The old view to reuse. If possible, you should check that this view is not null and of appropriate type. Okay. So that's the stuff that you want to reuse. Okay, so if convert view equals null, then I'll make a new view, right? Make new view object here, and now I'll return a convert view. So that's the basic plan, right? And why am I doing this? Because of this thing. Either that or I found it somewhere online. But this is how you understand what to do. Yeah, how to search for information. I want to go over that. So here I make a new view object. So how do I make the new view object? Is the inflator, and this is in general. This is in general. It's not just this situation. Anytime you want to make a view object from some XML file, like from this thing here, right? Layout item. So what does this return? Oh, okay, then it's got a view group. Okay. So where's the view group, right? That's the only view group I have. Must be that, right? And what was it returning? It's returning a view. So convert view is a view. So if convert view is null, I'm gonna do this thing to make one and return it. Okay. So this is this. Now I do this. Don't need this anymore. Go over here, grid view. So when I do this, the blue square is gonna have this stuff, but there's nothing there because, you know, like source, you know, it's not set here. Okay. So I create a view, but I also need to set the, you know, the image view or SRC, right? Basically, okay. Let me do that here. So you know, when I cover image view before, I was setting the source attribute in the XML. So now I need to encode. Same thing, right? Right. Find view from ID. Find view by should do that. Convert view dot find view by ID. Image view? That's not a good name. Huh. Well, yeah, because this is a global. Everybody's ID goes over here, so image views. I'll call it item image view, I guess. Same name as layout, a little confusing, but it's categorized under ID, whereas the layout is categorized under r.layout. Right, r.layout image view. This is the layout. ID, you know, this is an ID for this thing here. Okay, yeah. So, okay. Right, the image view is a child of convert view. A convert view is this thing, okay, has it with an image view. Okay, so that's what you get. That's how you get a reference to image view. A lot like very similar to up here. Right, find view by ID, but except here, find view by ID is main activity : find view by ID, so it belongs to main activity. You know, here's the this version, the find view by ID of convert view. Okay. So now image view, I need to set our SRC thing, right? So SRC, what? No such thing. Okay. No such thing. Well, so you gotta search for this. This is not Windows. Yeah, why I say that is because in Windows, literally, if it's SRC in the XML, in the XAML, it's also SRC in the code. Because the reason they can do this is Windows isn't using XML really, it's using XAML, and basically Microsoft invented they have control over their markup language, and they also have control over their programming language. So they were able to do stuff like that. And for Android, you can't do that. You have to go to, you look up your whatever it is that you're working on. I'm working on image view right now, so look up image view and look up what's the corresponding source code. So in the XML world, you're using SRC here. In the code world, you're using this thing here, and this is how you find out. Look for this table thing here. Okay. So there's no SRC, no such thing. Sorry. right? It's image resource. Now, I also want to mention something else here. If you actually click on this, okay, this will, set, do a picture, right? Render a picture. Now this does bitmap rendering and decoding on the UI thread, which can cause latency hiccup. That means your user interface can hang while this Android is drawing the picture. If it's a really big picture, or if you have a lot of pictures, that's what it's saying. Okay, so there are alternatives to this. Okay, basically you're working directly with the bitmap. You're working on the drawable. Okay, this function is taking an ID. Okay, precedence. Well, which precedent, right? It's the position. Okay, so that's the ID. The ID for the precedent comes from this thing. That's how the ID gets in there. Okay, so if I run it now, they should draw the precedence. There's no event handling. I haven't done this part yet. So clicking on it doesn't do anything, but it should display the precedence. I'm running it now. It dies. Ooh. Oh. Bunch of stuff. So, die, horrible dev. If you look at this stuff, it's failing at the inflate function. And blah blah blah, not supported, add view, layout not supported, but it's failing at the inflate function. Oh, come on, I mean, there aren't that many lines of code in there anyways, right? Right, it's this thing. Or this thing. But it's this thing, okay? I only had a couple lines of code. What's wrong with this thing? So to understand what's going on, you need get layout inflator is returning layout inflator. Well, get layout inflator is returning layout inflator. So you look up the layout inflator, look at the inflate function. So okay, so what happened was like this. Let me drag this out. Well, when I type it in, I just pick the first one. Not necessarily the best idea, right? There's a couple of these. Okay, it's actually, there's another one. Okay, so I just went with the first one. So go to the reference layout inflator. Go to inflate. It's going for this one. Now this one, what's that? Don't worry about it. Forget about it. Okay, so it's not this one. Okay, so it's either this one, which was one I used, and this one, right? Alright, and this sort of process, kind of elimination thing. This one blew up, so it must be this one, right? It can't be this one, or you don't know what that is. Okay, it's the resource ID. It's the one inflating from a resource ID, not from XML parser or whatever. So it's this one, attached to root. So this one has attached to root. Is it true or false? Well, you can try either one. So what's this one doing? This is a root view. Otherwise, the root inflated file. So you can try true or false, but oh, okay. So the other version has the, you know, has the true or false. Oh, it's not true. So that's the version. Why is it false? Why is it true? Oh, that thing is another long story. So what does it mean? Because they don't say very much. Whether it should be attached to root parameter, right? Because you have this root. Oh, not this one. This one. Same thing. Okay, whether inflated hierarchy should be attached to the root. Okay, so it turns out that true. Well, let's see what happens. It's true. It's false. If you try to search for it, it's like last. What does it mean? Because a lot of people have this question. Blah 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 blah, and like lots of stuff. So it's easier just to try it like this. It's false. Okay, but and it dies. Oh. What it dies? This one. And yeah, if you try to do that, it's gonna die. Let me see. Long story short is that the true parameter, it's not supported in this particular scenario. Adaptive view. Remember, you're inheriting most of it. Okay, all I'm doing is like a couple lines. Oh, here, yeah. So I'm extending this, but I'm not doing very much. I'm just constructing this thing. So what's going on is that this class doesn't support the true parameter, like whatever that is. You can try to read it online, whatever, but it's really complicated. Who cares? Okay, false. Okay, false. Okay, because true crashes, so it's false. And the reason it crashes is because it's not support. Okay, look at this stuff. Oh, okay, now it's coming up here. Oh, so here, so that's the president, and let me rotate. So it's like that. So what's the problem? Well, like I said before, there's no spacing, but there's spacing between the columns, right? The spacing. Oh, go back. The spacing between the columns is coming from this thing, where the extra space is being redistributed in the columns. So vertical spacing 10 dp. To fix that, there's no vertical spacing here. Yeah, I sort of mentioned it here. But horizontal spacing, well, you sort of do have some spacing there already. I'll just leave it for now. Okay. That's what I meant. Oh, you can get by without horizontal spacing, maybe. Yeah. I'm running it again. Oh, this doesn't even make sense, this thing. Yeah. Hey, rotate. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you see some spacing there. Wow, this thing's broken. Oh, now it's rotating. Okay. So far so good. Let me get rid of this. It's no longer those exceptions are old. Okay. So the only thing left is handling the on click, because I didn't handle it. So clicking on those guys won't do anything. So it's the same stuff as before. I think should do it like on click. So I on set has to be set, right? Get doesn't do anything. On item click, on item long click, on item click. New control space. Take this one. Shift O, Control Shift O, bring it in. Add an implemented methods, click. Oh, I hate this part. Yeah, because the parameters are no good. So I had to copy from here. It's like arc0, arc1, arc2. See? There we go. So we got precedent dot what position dot toString, right? So precedent number something select the precedent number something, right? Bring in this one. Okay, so no error. So you see the oh man, toString doesn't work. Yeah, it's putting out ID. Okay. toString is bringing it's doing, it's bringing out the ID. Gosh. So position 0 correspond to precedent number 1. So offset by 1. Okay. So that's from before. That's number 3 is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay, so the click thing works, and the last thing to try out is changing the pictures, right? Like this thing, set notify data set changed. Right, I have 10 precedents. Well, what if I want to change this last guy? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click a button and then I'll change him to the first person, George Washington, to demonstrate this part. That's relatively straightforward. Let's say add a button here. Yeah, you don't want to add a button down here because this thing, this thing scrolls all the way down screen, right? This thing scrolls. So you don't want to. you don't want to add a button down here, you might never get to it or something. So whatever button you have, you put up here. Change button, text, change, the usual height and width. Okay. So get a reference to a button. So set on click listener, view. Okay. Remember, this is here. I have access to it. Okay. So I'm gonna change the last guy. Precedence. So hard code here. To the first guy. Okay, see what I'm doing? The ID for the last president is being set to the first president. And just like before, you call the notify data set change, right? Notify data set changed. Okay, so when I click the button, I set the data backing the adapter, right? Okay, so it's just like before, but this time with pictures. Oh, it's messed up. Let me go back. Oversight. Should saw it over here, huh? So put a button on top of the stuff like that. Okay, here we go. So the guy at the bottom is Tyler, President Tyler. So you click change. The guy at the bottom becomes Washington, becomes the first guy. Last guy, first guy, same guy. Okay. Okay, so it's finally over. So I covered that. It's like 1:30. Okay, so that's how you use GridView to show a bunch of pictures and all that. Okay, so I'm done.